Hi, Marvin.
Hi, Rosalind. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Good morning. I'm just waiting on everyone to come on in.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
Um,
so you are taking care of us this morning?
yes, that's my job this morning.
Okay.
Um, yeah, you've got. Do you have any slides that you need to share or anything today?
No, I won't share. So um I will just be speaking
No problem.
and
That's fine.
guiding the program.
Sure.
I wonder if it's best I use the earbuds. Maybe it's okay not to. Do you hear me okay, Rosalind?
Yeah, it's really clear.
Great.
Really clear. No problem.
We want to have a nice robust discussion and
Yeah.
want to make sure everyone is hearing us. So my video is good and my audio is good, right?
Yeah, everything's fine. All good.
Okay, the only thing I have before the speakers come in, so the speakers, I know Deborah has some slides. I don't know as yet
Mhm.
if anyone else will be sharing, but Deborah will be.
Yeah.
But in the question answer session, we wanted, if possible, we have to be guided on this, for even a few, especially the early career chemists, to open their microphones and share their questions or
Yeah.
comments.
Mhm.
Would that still be okay?
Yeah, that's fine. No problem. If you just say, "Oh, we've got a question from so and then I can ask them if they want to share their microphone.
Okay, so most we are going to invite them to put questions in the chat.
Yes, I think so. Or else just say in the chat, I have a question for Romila or yeah.
Right. And so yeah, I will ask them to put their questions in the chat, but I will say to them, we will choose one or two people who would like to speak. We will give them the opportunity to speak to
Hmm.
make that kind of connection. So they should indicate by just saying, I have a question.
Yeah.
And otherwise, you put your question in the chat and we will read it and wait on the response, right?
That's right. Yeah. That's
Okay.
fine.
Sounds good. And then we move from this career conversation straight into the closing ceremony.
Yeah, that's right.
Great. So, Rosalind, tell me, if I glance on that screen, it
Hmm.
does take away from the direct contact with my audience, doesn't it? So, if I glance there, I can't do that for too long, eh?
Yeah, unfortunately. I know I had to get a new webcam because my yeah, because my if I only had like if I was using the camera off my laptop, then when I looked at the screen, I was looking away. So I got a new webcam so that I look directly at it.
Okay, so let's
But
say
it's
this.
fine. It's not really noticeable. I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay, so how about this one? So I won't be when I want to look at my script, then I will just not be viewing everyone else. So how about when I go into this mode, and I'm just looking at my script here on the computer? Is
Yeah,
that
that's
okay?
fine. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do it like that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we have Rachel is here too. Oh, she slipped
Oh, he's
away.
away again.
She's like, okay.
What time is it with you, Marvadine?
It's 5 minutes, 7 minutes to 10 a.m.
Oh, okay.
And you are 6 hours ahead of me, yeah?
Yeah, so it's 10 to 4 here.
Yes.
So, or 6 minutes to 4, yeah.
This is quite the beauty of all of this, isn't it?
Yes.
The beauty.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no, it's good. It means we can do something, isn't that right?
Yeah, I can't wait for you guys to come over though for the Congress, the face-to-face Congress in the Caribbean.
Oh, yes, that would have been lovely.
Yeah, we
Yes,
are
it would have been so much better, but
so much better. We are going to do it. Don't never mind. Okay, Leontios is with us.
he's one of our panelists
He
today,
is. He is.
isn't he? Let's see. Oh, there he is. Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
Leonidas.
Hello, Marvin. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. All right, let's just have you do your checks with Rosalind. Rosalind is here to help us with the technical matters.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Leon. Leon, how do I say your name? I don't want to get it wrong.
It's Leo.
Leo, right? That's better.
Okay.
Nice and easy.
No, but Leo, for me who have to call, I have to call your full name. Could you say it?
So the name is Leondios Philotheu.
Philothel. Yeah.
Okay,
Leontius Philothel.
exactly. But you can also use Leo.
Okay. So is it parliamentary? You spoke about the parallel parliament in
Here I
this,
am.
and now you said you have an event because you're running for
Yes.
position.
Yes.
So there's the parallel parliament and there is the main parliament.
No, I'm running for the main parliament. We have elections on next week, next Sunday. And I'm running for a position in the parliament for the capital, for Nicosia. Yes.
Great, wonderful. I am so sorry that you can't stay for the question
I
answers.
know, but it was something, it came up, I could not avoid that, so that's why I can't stay with you. But anyway, I was about to tell you, if someone was to ask me something, or I don't know if I can share my email, if they want to ask something directly, of course, I'm at your disposal we can provide that. And if someone wants to ask anything specific about my career or about my path, they can, of course, do that after my email.
Yeah, sure. You can always put it in the chat if you'd like, or yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Leo, are you sharing slides today?
Yes, I'm sharing slides.
Yeah. Okay. Do you feel confident in doing it? Have you practiced, or do you want to have a try now?
We can have a try now. I practice.
Yeah, I'll just stop sharing mine, and then you can have a go. Hi, Deborah.
Hello.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Marvadine. Hi, Leontios. Leontios?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Deborah, is everything
you're
okay?
not driving today. It's good.
So I'm just testing my share. Okay.
He's not driving, but he's getting ready to go.
Yeah,
we
I can
are
see
seeing
that.
you now.
Great.
And can you put it into presentation?
So can you see the presentation now? Yes?
No. Oh, yes, I can see it now.
Yes, it's okay now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good.
Excellent. Okay.
Good.
So stop sharing.
Yeah, brilliant.
Great.
So it's working, that's good.
Yeah.
That's Marvadine.
Very good.
So Marvadine, just so you know, my slides are with the Secretariat, so they're going to show them for me.
Okay, so Rosalind, do you have Deborah's slides?
I do, yeah.
Wonderful.
I do.
Great.
I've got them all ready.
Super.
So yeah, Deborah, if you just say next slide, please, I can
Perfect.
move it along.
Yep.
We are waiting on Michael and Ramila.
Yeah.
And we have our delegates coming into the room. So we want to say good morning as everyone walks into the room. We are waiting in about 3 minutes or so. I think we should be able to start once the two speakers come on in.
Hi, Romila.
Hi. Good
How are you?
evening. Good afternoon. I'm good. And you? How are you? Yeah.
Hi, Romila. How are you?
Hi. Hello. I'm good. I'm good. It's getting late here. Late and cold. That's very
Ah,
funny. Yeah.
that's
How are
why I
you
wish
doing?
I'm good. And will you be sharing some slides this morning?
Yes. Yes. I will. I will. Uh, should I just try seeing how?
Yeah, you can do. I'll stop sharing mine.
Okay. Right. So let me try to close that one and. Yeah. I can't seem to be getting that button of share screen.
You don't have the screen sharing button.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you using Chrome at the moment?
Oh, yeah. I'll have to connect again. Okay.
Okay. So if you, yeah, it's
Yeah.
fine. If you
Yeah.
just come back in and use Chrome.
I'll come back. Right.
Okay.
I'll come back. Yeah.
And Michael, are you going to use your slides today?
No slides for me, thank you.
Okay, excellent. Don't need to test you then. That's fine.
Michael will just speak. Okay, so we wait on Romila, and for all the delegates who are walking into the room, we are about to begin in maybe about 2 minutes. I think we shall get started as soon as all the speakers have done all their checks. So just make yourself comfortable and get ready. We are looking forward to a robust discussion, everyone.
Marvadine, I'm happy for you to start if you want, because Romila will just come back in and then it'll be
And
fine.
will you be able to do the checks, Rosalind? Is
Well,
that
she'll
okay?
have checked before. It'll be fine. I can just do it at the time.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Career Conversations. This is the final session of this, our inaugural Commonwealth Chemistry Congress. And indeed, it is really fitting that we close this Congress with a focus on the future. And Career Conversations is exactly that. It is about learning from the experiences of others as we chart our own path into the future. And so in this session, we draw on the diversity of the Commonwealth Chemistry Group, and we have brought together a distinguished panel of 4 from different countries, different sectors, with different experiences, but all with commonalities in the study, pride, and power of chemistry. So from Kypironides and Associates in Cyprus, we have Leontios Philotho. From Mauritius, we are joined by Romila Mohi, Higher Education Commissioner. From Canada, we have Deborah Nicole Griffith, who represents Endoparagon Inc. And from the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine campus in Trinidad and Tobago, we have Dr. Michael Ford. Michael is gonna have my neck for that. Now, each of these speakers will share highlights of their careers. They will pull out what helped them to be successful. They will share obstacles and describe how they overcame them. They will share how key decisions were made and options considered. So if you are an early or mid-career chemist, come closer and turn up the volume because there is a lot here for you. We want to hear your voice. We, the mature colleagues, those of us who have advanced a little bit and are in the audience, we also need to get involved. Because, with the rapid rate of change in the world, this reverse mentoring where we learn from our juniors can lead to more inclusion, diversity, and of course, productivity in the chemical sciences. So all of us will feel comfortable in this discussion. And let us have, therefore, an inclusive, robust, and vibrant discussion, everybody. Now, to start us off, we will give 10 minutes to each panelist to make opening comments, after which the discussion can begin and your questions and comments will be aired. So we will invite you to put your questions in the comments section that is in the chat. Just write them down as they come to you and send them over. I would also love to hear even a few of you early career chemists. I would love to hear your voices. So if your background is not too noisy or distracting, we will invite you to open your microphones if you care to do so and share your comments via a live interaction with the panelists. So to indicate that, you will just write to me that you have a question. I have a question will do. And then I will invite you to open your microphone and share. Now at this time, I introduce our first panelist, Leontios Philotho. Leontios was born in Nicosia, Cyprus in 1979, quite a young man he is, and he holds a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry and a Master's of Science in Total Quality and Performance Management. He's a certified management consultant and works as Managing Director of Be Ready Consulting. He has been working since 2005 in the quality field as a quality and business consultant. In 2007, he was elected as a member of the board of the Pan-Cyprian Union of Chemists, which is the chemical society for Cypriot chemists founded in 1960. He served as treasurer for 10 years until 2017, when he was elected president of the union. Leontios has served as a member of the Executive Secretariat of Cyprus Youth Council and member of the board of Cyprus Scholarships Foundation. He's a member of the Parallel Parliament for the Environment and Public Health and president of the Parallel Parliament Committee for Public Health. And in fact, Leontios is participating. He's running in the elections over there, and he has to go off, ladies and gentlemen, because he has an event that really just came up recently. So if you have further questions after his presentation, since he will not be around for the question and answer section, then he will instruct us how to contact him and you can engage in that discussion with him afterwards. Importantly, Leontios is a husband and a father of two. And I know you are eager, as I am, to find out how he got here and how he does it all. So I hand over to you, Leontios Philotho.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Avadine, for the introduction. Good morning. Hello?
Hello. Sorry, we lost you for a moment there. Would you like to start again?
Okay, so thank you for the introduction, Mavadine. Thank you, everyone. You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So good morning and good evening to everyone. My name is Leontios Philotheu, and I am the president of the Cyprus Chemical Society. It's the Pan-Cyprian Union of Chemists. I'm very glad to be here with you, even in this challenging time of a global pandemic. I really wished that we could do this session face to face. I really miss that, and not laptop to laptop. We did not manage to do that for 2 years, but I hope that this will be soon a very bad memory, and we will be able to meet again and interact as proper human beings. So let me just share my screen and start the presentation. So Rosalind, is that okay?
Yes, I am seeing your screen.
You see the screen? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So, career conversations, find your path. That's the subject of our today's discussion. So this is my path. I started from chemistry, a bachelor degree in chemistry, and then quality management, a master's degree, and then a professional qualification in management consulting. And I ended up 15 years ago working as a quality consultant in Cyprus, quality and business consultant. So I am managing director I run my own business. I have a consulting firm, a Be Ready Consulting. This is what I always tell my clients: plan, prepare, and be ready, so you can face all challenges. So this is my career path, and this is what I try to combine. I try to combine chemistry. I try to combine standards, international standards. I try to combine business and consulting. That was more or less my target, to combine all these subjects under one career. Now, chemistry, because everything is chemistry. And chemistry, I'm sure you all know that. I love chemistry. It was my favorite subject. I wanted to study chemistry. And this is how this is why I chose chemistry. And I strongly believe that everything around us, it's all about chemistry. Everything is about chemistry.
Leo?
Standards, because life would be really, really a mess without standards. Yes?
I just want to say, could I turn your camera off?
Hello?
We've got a bit of a bad connection, so I feel that if we turn your camera off, it might be a bit better.
Okay. Did you turn it off?
Yeah. Okay, carry.
Okay. So you can hear me now?
Yes.
Yes?
Go right.
Hello?
Yes, Leo. Sorry. Hi, can you hear us? Hi, Leo. Can you hear us? Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I was talking about the standards, that I wanted to combine standards because life would be really a mess without standards. And I'm a guy that I really, really, really like order. So just imagine a world without standards, without quality, or without food safety, or without technical standards specifying how to do things and what to do things. I always say, imagine a world where, for example, AA batteries wouldn't be the same across the world, or a shoe size of 38 wouldn't be the same in every country. So standards are very important. Standards are part of our life, and this is why I chose to work with standards and try to do that as a job, as a career. Then it's all about business. Okay, I work with a lot of different businesses, and this is quite interesting because it has a variety. I work with business across the economy, with food industries, with catering industries. Every day quite interesting and not boring at all. You still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me, Leo?
Rosalind, is that okay?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
These are the challenges of this kind of interaction.
Yeah.
but we are
Hi.
going to stick with him, everybody.
Yeah. Hi, Leo. Can you hear us?
Okay, so yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm moving
So
to
if you put
consulting.
yeah,
Okay.
if you
So
open up, maximize your presentation again.
It's maximized.
Oh, okay, I can only
Yes.
see your in-event screen at the moment.
You can't see my screen?
I can only see your screen, so you need to make your presentation full screen.
It's full screen.
Okay. Okay, if you go out of it and start sharing again. So if you stop sharing and then share again.
Let me just share again.
Okay.
Start sharing, share. We wouldn't have these problems if we're all in the same room.
Yes.
Can you see my screen now? Yes?
Good.
Okay. So I suppose you heard me about business, yes? Okay, so I'm moving to consulting. And then it's consulting, and there are two very interesting quotes about consultants. Quote number one, a consultant is someone who comes in to solve a problem in your business and stays around long enough to become a part of it. And the second one is that a consultant is someone who comes in, borrows your watch to tell you your time, and then keeps your watch. So having practiced consulting for 16 years, I haven't yet concluded which one is the more suitable, and I'm still trying to figure this out. But obstacles. What were the main obstacles in practicing this profession? The main obstacle was to make clients trust me, especially at the very beginning when I started practicing this at the early age of 26. It was quite difficult to achieve that, to make people trust you, to make people open the business for you, to make them provide information that, yes, it was all about trust. Okay, so how to overcome these obstacles, or how I overcame these obstacles? It was hard work. There is no obstacle that cannot be overcome with hard work. This is something I always say: hard work. Even if at the beginning we find some difficulties, with hard work, we can overcome with that. And then it's optimism and a smile. I always say, smile, things will get better. So at the beginning, it was quite disappointing when you find closed doors. Do not get disappointed. Eventually, doors will open. And then it's quality. High quality in everything you do. I teach quality, I practice quality. Quality is my subject, and this is what I try to do: deliver quality in my services, deliver services to my clients that add value to their business, not just a piece of paper, not just a research. So this is what I'm actually selling to my clients: high quality in the services delivered. And then hello?
You're still here. Keep on going.
So, and then the final one, it was to make clients believe that I was not just a consultant like the other two I described earlier, that they borrow the watch and they take the watch with them, that I was a part of their business and a part of their effort to improve their business, to make things better. And this is very unique, because after 15, 16 years of doing that, I think all of my clients see me as a part of their business and not part of their problems. They see me as a part, they see me and my consulting firm as part of their solution, and not part of their problems. And that creates loyalty, and that creates a strong relationship that it's very difficult to break that. So my advice to everyone, and this is my last slide here of the presentation, my advice is that do what you love what you do, and do it well. If you do this, then success will definitely follow. Thank you very much for your attention. attention. I really apologize for not being able to continue with you. I would really like to stay and discuss this, but I will have to leave this career conversation. But I will share my email with you in the chat, and you can contact me whenever you want to discuss directly with me, whatever you want to discuss.
Thank you very much, Leontios. Yes, we're looking forward to you dropping that email in the chat, because I am sure that many of, especially the early career chemists here, have a lot of questions for you. And I hear, you know, some lessons, some messages coming out of your presentation, some messages that all of us who have studied chemistry, messages about standards, you know, and so standards for all of us, we know, are important in maintaining the quality of the work that we do. But now we're saying standards must translate into your life. We are saying that chemistry must translate also into business. Now it can begin to create wealth and impact people's lives. And you are giving us some advice about how to overcome these obstacles. And we're going to bring this all together later on. But we want to thank you again for that absolutely stimulating and informative presentation. And we wish you well as you go off to do your campaigning, it is, and all the other things you do. Thanks again for sharing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you. And we move now to our next contributor, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Professor Romila Mohi. She is the Commissioner of the Higher Education Commission in Mauritius, and she has held that position since November 2020. She has an engineering background with a degree in engineering from the National Institute of Applied Science of Lyon, INSA, in France, and a PhD in environmental engineering. She pursued her career in the academic field and has also held senior management positions, again, combining that academic work with business. Her academic career has seen her achieve exceptionally high standards, having published extensively on environmental sustainability and related subjects. Her publications include 4 book chapters and 5 book chapters, and over 100 publications in high impact journals. Prof. Mohi is an experienced education specialist with more than 30 years of experience and a demonstrated history of working in the development of higher education models and policies. She worked at the Commonwealth of Learning, where she actively promoted online learning by successfully developing quality assurance guidelines in 8 countries, as well as qualifying programs at the tertiary level across sub-Saharan Africa. She expertly guided governments and institutions on e-learning for sustainable development, quality assurance, and employability. She has also developed an employability readiness model for higher education institutions in the Commonwealth. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Professor Romila Mohi.
Thank you very much, Chair. I really appreciate these kind words. And indeed, by saying 30 years, it gives an indication of my age. But anyway, we will try to get rid of that. I'll start sharing screen. I'll just see, just give me 2 minutes. Yes, share. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, can you maximize it?
Yeah, I'm trying to do this. Just give me. Yeah, does that work?
I can. It's still in edit mode at the moment.
Oh, really? Okay.
So when you go to slideshow, you see at the top bar there's a thing for slideshow. If you go back and click slideshow, and then there's a set up slideshow. Yeah.
Yes.
And then browse by an individual window. That's it. And then OK.
Yeah.
And then
actually,
that
this is what we
should work. If you try it in presentation mode now, it should work.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Okay, I know what to do.
Okay,
Right.
perfect.
Right. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to, over the next 10 minutes, talk a little bit about how I jumped from sciences, engineering, and finally to land up in higher education. Actually, as the chair just mentioned, I have a PhD of environmental engineering from the University of Mauritius. I hold an energy engineering degree from the INSA Lyon in France, with a specialization in environment studies. And I did a diploma in sciences at the University of Réunion in Réunion Island, which is just next to Mauritius. So I've been an academic. I joined the University of Mauritius in 1989 and have stayed there for almost, I would say, 27, 28 years, researching a lot in, I would say, chemical engineering, environmental engineering, sustainability, and waste management. So I've been publishing and also have been attending several conferences, including wonderful conferences of the chemistry, Commonwealth chemistry, organized by the Royal Society of Chemistry. Right, so currently I'm working as the Higher Education Commission. I'm the commissioner, and I regulate all the public and private universities in the country, and I accredit all the public and private programs, including all the engineering and sciences programs in the different public and private universities. Prior to that, I worked as education specialist at the Commonwealth of Learning in Vancouver, Canada, where I work with several countries in Asia and Africa on how to develop technology-enabled learning, and also all the different policies and strategies to enable countries to move to e-learning. And this proved to be very, very useful when we had the pandemic last year, when the universities had to go in lockdown. And also this year we had another lockdown. So all these, I would say, skills have proven to be very useful to me while guiding universities on how to ensure continuity. Now, prior to that, I was the Vice Chancellor of the University of Mauritius, which is the biggest national university in Mauritius with about 12,000 students. So I've occupied throughout my career the positions of Vice Chancellor, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Dean of the Faculty of Engineering, Head of the Chemical and Environmental Engineering departments, and also the Head of the Sugar Technology Unit. And at the same time, while taking some breaks in my career, I was the National Research Chair for the country and was appointed by the Mauritius Research Council and the Tertiary Education Commission. So I've occupied, I would say, of course, I've been an academic, but I've occupied various leadership roles. And later in the presentation, I'll talk a little bit about the challenges, especially of a woman being in such leadership position. Actually, I was the first woman who joined the Faculty of Engineering in 1989, and then later I became the first woman Dean of Faculty of Engineering, the first woman Pro-Vice Chancellor, the first and only woman Professor in Engineering in Mauritius, and the first woman and the only woman Vice Chancellor in Mauritius. So it has been a long struggle, a lot of challenges, but we did try to overcome the obstacles to be able to reach these positions. So in terms of my memberships, I'm, of course, a fellow of the Royal Society of Chemistry, and I'm very pleased to see some of my friends today in this audience. I'm a fellow of the Mauritius Academy of Science and Technology, an honorary fellow of the Institute of Chemical Engineers UK, and a global leader faculty for Australia. So I just wanted to put these, it's the different awards that I've been obtaining over the different years. But I wanted to draw your attention to the fact that I got the Driver of Change Individual Award over the whole African continent in 2015. And I think that this Driver of Change Award shows an attribute that I have. I'm always trying to overcome challenges. Actually, my kids say that my adrenaline starts as soon as there's an obstacle or a challenge. So I think this forms part of how I've been managing to overcome the different obstacles in my life. In terms of, so I have a special passion, having been among the very few women who studied engineering, and then moving up the ladder to become a professor in engineering, and then later to take several research positions in engineering. And I wanted really to put that slide just to show it's not that I'm neglecting the men, but I wanted to have a special message for the girls who go into STEM, who go into sciences, who go into engineering, that yes, women, we can be great leaders. And there are some very special characteristics that we share as to how we become very great leaders in sciences and engineering. I believe that, of course, it's my personal opinion, I believe that we are naturally empathetic and value a lot of relationships. We understand what motivates and drives people. After all, we have this whole biological, I would say, a job of ensuring the survival of populations. So we tend to value a lot of what is important for the next generation. And by always having challenges and problems, I believe that we try to find solutions. We would never overcome a problem by developing another problem. We would try to find solutions so that everything works well. Lead by example. Yes, we would not only talk, we would act, we would climb the ladder, we would have experiences, we would share with our friends. And one thing that I think we do very well is that we multitask. I mean, right from a very young age, we are being asked, right, we have to help the family, we have to have our career, we want to study, we have to look after a small brother or sister, etc., etc. So we are used to multitasking. I'm not saying that it's always good, but it does help when you have a lot of activities to do. And as I mentioned, I know that I like changing things. I'm never someone who would say that I'm just following other people or it's business as usual. Everywhere I've gone in my career, I would accept the situation and then later try to move on and change things. I have had a lot of issues while becoming the first vice chancellor woman in my university. A lot of issues with unions, a lot of issues with staff, and problems that I have had to solve. And I believe that this has increased my resilience. I tend to not be discouraged and actually be challenge and try to find solutions and trying to find ways and build bridges and do things like that. A chemical engineer. So I started as a chemical engineer, specialization with environmental engineering. And as with all engineering jobs, and especially the chemical ones, because one day you're working in the process industry, and then the other day you're working in the sugar industry, and then you might have to deal with a problem with food processing, with, as the previous speaker said, with standards. So I would say a career in chemical engineering is very dynamic. It leads to many varied and stimulating outcomes. It's very rare that you're doing actually the same thing year by year. It's always you're having a new dimension to look at. And as good scientists and engineers, we are natural problem solvers, team players, and skills that are very important today in science, in business, in today's world. I'm sure that most of the young people have heard about the fourth industrial transformation and the fifth one that's coming. It's a lot of new skills that will be needed. It's a lot of new jobs. It's a lot of uncertainty about what kind of jobs we'll have. So the more skills that we have in terms of adapting and being resilient to new systems would indeed help us. In terms of challenges, I can say one of my biggest challenge has been to juggle my career and family. Actually, I was already married and I had 2 kids when I started my PhD. And then I had to work at the same time, do my PhD and look after 3 kids. And whatever you say, whenever there were problems with the children, it's the mother that is called first. So I have had many, many issues like that. I'm chairing a committee, very high level committee. I get a note, your child is in clinic and she wants only you. So you have to juggle that. I must say that I have a very supportive husband, but still, when the kids want their mother, you have to be there. So this has been through all my life, and I can say that at the age of 40 or 42, I came up with a saying that I believe that you cannot have it all. At some point, you're going to have to sacrifice something, but what you can do is probably juggle for some years, look at your family, and some years look at your career. But it's a constant battle. It's a constant struggle. And what people say that women feel guilty when they are at their job and thinking about their family, and when they are at their family and thinking about their jobs, I believe it's very true. It's just that you have to manage and cope with all that. But it does work. It does work. What would I say as general advice to the young girls, to the young boys, to the young scientists, engineers that are listening to us is that basically we have a lot of principles, but I would say please try to look at several dimensions of things, look for results, look at what is happening in the world. What are the disruptors that are being there? And we know, all of us are aware, our biggest disruptor is the COVID-19 pandemic. All of us in the world are being faced with a lot of issues. So we need to see how to turn this disruption into opportunities for the society, into opportunities for everyone. So changes happen, and we need to make sure that we adapt to these and move on. Look around you. Evolving organizational form, uniqueness. What is unique about you that you can bring value to anything that you're doing? Look within. Know yourself, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, know where you can improve, know how you can reach out and help people. And especially being an engineer, the most important skill, I would say, that is needed is to be a team player. There's no job that can be done alone. It will definitely be always be in teams. And this is something that we've got to nurture so as we can then really contribute. And lastly, look in the mirror. Focus on, as the previous speaker said, go ahead. Do what you're passionate about, what you can be best at, what drives your performance, and what you can really be passionate about, so that nothing looks like an obstacle. It's really what you want to do, makes you happy, and I'm sure you'll be reaching there. Right? So I wanted to finish with this quote about leadership, saying that leadership is the courage to admit mistakes, the vision to welcome change, the enthusiasm to motivate others, and the confidence to stay out of step when everyone else is marching to the wrong tune. This is something that really distinguishes leaders from others, I would say. And this was a quote from former president of General Motors, Mr. Estes. With this quote, I would like to end here and thank you all, and thank the Royal Society of Chemistry, my great friends at the Commonwealth Chemistry, those who have organized that, and thanks to all of you for giving me this opportunity to share a little bit of my experience with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Mohi. And we have comments coming in from some of the colleagues in the audience who are thanking you and sharing how tremendous your story is and what an inspiration you are. I am sure they are looking forward to conversing with you in the discussion section. It is amazing the achievements that you have made, and this is a real issue for women in science is that we are seeing progress now with more and more girls studying STEM, possibly up to the BSc level and even to the PhD level. Certainly in the Caribbean, we have some data showing that. But what has happened is women have not been able to acquire high leadership in the way that you have and to impact the world at that high level of leadership because of all these other things that you have brought to us this morning that pulls on our time, and the clock runs out, you know, and so we never get there because of tending to children and this maternal wall. Even when you are not a mother yourself, a biological mother, this is the role we play in society. We nurture everybody and everything. And so we are looking forward. A robust discussion is coming up, everyone. So hold on to those thoughts, put those questions into the chat so that they can be there for Prof to come in on, and we'll take some of those comments later on. We move now to another very outstanding scientist, I say first, and then I've got to add woman in science, Deborah Nicole Griffith. Deborah is Canadian. She studied biochemistry, natural product, synthetic organic chemistry, and bioanalytical chemistry during her academic years at Bishop's University, the University of British Columbia, and the University of Toronto. After 2 postdoctoral fellowships, she entered the pharmaceutical industry where she worked as a researcher and senior director for over 25 years. So another woman who has excelled in science, who has excelled in leadership, and has translated into business here, everybody. She contributed to the discovery of numerous drug candidates and marketed therapies for asthma, pain, and infectious diseases, including HIV. She has co-authored almost 70 peer-reviewed publications and has several patents. And after retiring from pharma, Deborah did not stop. She founded a small life sciences company, Endoparagon Inc., and is researching novel biomarkers for a neglected tropical disease. Those of us here in the Caribbean know about this, known as Chagas disease. Deborah served as president of the Canadian Society for Chemistry, CSC, from 2018 to 2020, and is currently past president. She's a member of the Commonwealth Chemistry Executive Board. Please put a round of applause for Deborah Nicole Griffith.
All right. Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Yes, perfect. Okay, well, thank you very much, Marvadine. That was a very nice introduction. I want to, first of all, thank the organizers for inviting me to speak today. I have to say I feel very humbled to be invited to speak amongst a group of such esteemed scientists and so many accomplishments in the face of tremendous challenges, and people who've risen to fabulous roles of influence, like Romela, who just spoke before us. So I wanted to go through my career history. I'm going to repeat a little bit of the biography that was just recounted, but tell you a few lessons that I feel I executed well during that career, and maybe some lessons where I could have done a bit better for those of you that are at the beginning. So I'll tell you how old I am. I'm 62. I don't mind to share my age. And I consider my career has been 44 years long. And so I consider my career started when I began my bachelor's degree at the university. So this was 2 years before Leo was even born, I realize. It seems like a long time ago. Anyway, and I'm an analytical chemist, so I love analyzing things. So as I put this presentation together, I realized that if I look at those 44 years, I actually spent 25% of my time in training, about 2/3 of my time working, and now in my semi-retirement, most of my role is around being a volunteer, and that's about 9%. So I will go through these phases of the career and talk about my experiences. So on our next slide, I share the next slide, please. Rosalind, can you hear me? There we go. Perfect. So, so my training, I consider my training was about 11 years. So I did a bachelor's degree in biochemistry at Bishop's, which is a very small liberal arts college. Then I went to the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, where I did a PhD. So I never did a master's. We had a program where we could go straight to a PhD, and I studied synthetic organic chemistry. But by the end of my PhD, I was a little bored with doing a reaction, a purification, and an NMR, and it just seemed like a cycle. So I was looking for something different and more creative to do to expand my experience. I was recommended to go to the States and do a postdoc in synthetic chemistry, but I wanted to differentiate myself, and I also wanted to stay in Canada. So I discovered the field of drug metabolism. And as a postdoc, I went to the University of Toronto, where I started to learn about drug metabolism and bioanalytical chemistry. And then I did a second postdoc, an industrial postdoc in a company called BioResearch, where I did more bioanalytical work and learned about pharmacokinetics and drug metabolism a bit more. So by the end of my training, I had a pretty broad background: biochemistry, organic chemistry, and bioanalytical work. And so when I started my career in pharma, I had, and I think this speaks to Ramila's point earlier, I was really differentiated from all the other organic chemists. And I think that really served me well going forward in my career. And for those of you that are still at school and in university, I really recommend going to different institutions. This is very important to see different ways of operating and different ways of learning. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I started my industrial career in 1988, but my first interview with my employer I did during my second year of my PhD. So I interviewed for my job that I landed 5 years before I actually landed it. And I think this is an important lesson, is that it's never too early to start interviewing and exploring potential employers. There's no harm going for an interview early in your training. Gives you experience interviewing. It puts you on the radar of these companies. Believe me, they track students coming through school. They have databases. And I think it's really important to get going on your career like that early. So on our next slide, I'll show you, I went into the pharma industry. I'm not going to talk about this very much, but I worked at Merck Frost, which is the Canadian research laboratories of, it's known as Merck Sharp and Dome in most of the world. So I worked in Montreal for about 19 years. Then they transferred me to the States. I worked in the States for about 6 years. And at that time, I'd been there for 25 years. That was enough time. They were reorganizing the company and looking for volunteers to retire early. So I raised my hand. They said, please choose me. I'd like to go home. So I took an early retirement package and I came back to Montreal. I think one advantage of staying with one company for a long time is that you build a lot of financial cushioning. So this working for Merck was quite financially rewarding. And when I left Merck, because I'd been there for such a long time and effectively I was laid off, they gave me a very nice severance package, which was about a year and a half worth of salary. And what I could do, because I was financially secure, I invested all of that money and I used that money as the seed funding for my little company, EndoParagon. So this is kind of a retirement hobby project that I work on. The company's been going for about 8 years. I'm the only person in the company. I operate as a virtual biotech company, and we can talk about that in the question period if you like. So it ticks along in the background, and it's I don't really have any exciting results yet, but I have fun with it. So on the next slide is the last stage of my career, which is now volunteering. So I'm very involved in the Canadian Society for Chemistry, the Chemical Institute of Canada. I'm on the board of Commonwealth Chemistry, and in full circle, I've now come back to Bishop's where I started, and I've been asked to serve on the long-term strategic planning committee at Bishop's. So I think at this stage of my career, I feel that I can contribute back into helping to put structures in place that will allow chemists, young chemists, follow their own dreams. So in the next slide, these were my obstacles. So similar to Ramila, I think that having not enough time when we're a mom and a wife, we can't all be a superwoman. And not to exclude the men, I think all the men can't be supermen either. And so I think it's very important to develop a support network to give you help at home. This can be your partner, your parents, the grandparents of your kids, hiring a housekeeper, and your friends. You know, we talk about developing a network for our professional development, but I also think it's very important for us to develop a network for our personal support. And this has been really critical. You know, at one point in my career, I was really struggling, and I said to myself, you know, only I can be the mother to my children, but anybody can make dinner for me. So I started to parse out some of the functions of my private life that I could delegate, and that really made a very big difference. The second obstacle, I think, is around leadership and personal development. My sister did a degree in psychology, and she called it a science, and I was very skeptical that psychology was really a science, but psychology is really important as we go forward in our careers. And I think as chemists and as scientists, we can be a little dwarby, if I could use that word. And but as you go forward in your career, understanding psychology is really important. And we learn through mentorship programs where we can give advice and we can get advice. So mentorship programs are very important. Also, having an advocate is very important. So an advocate is somebody who will create opportunities for you. And I think I wish I had done this better in my career. I had mentorship, but advocacy for me came just by chance. A few people did advocate for me and did create opportunities for me, but I didn't actively manage this. And I think I might have done that better. And finally, career coaching. So career coaching was very helpful for me a couple of times in my career when I couldn't understand the psychology of the environment I was in. Career coaching was really very helpful. And sometimes this was provided for me by Merck, by the company, and sometimes I went out and sought this on my own. And finally, a fear of making mistakes. So this I still struggle with. I think when we're in school, we are taught there's a right answer and a wrong answer, and we go through school trying to get the best marks that we can. But when we go out into the real world isn't like that. You know, we have to forge forward, and there's many right ways to do something. And a wrong way isn't necessarily even wrong. It's just another way of doing something. And so I've had to learn that mistakes aren't necessarily even mistakes. They're for learning and growing. And this is something that I still struggle with even today. So on my last slide, I just want to give my advice about decisions. So this is a really great book, Heart, Smarts, Guts, and Lucks. It's a guide to how to be an entrepreneur. And it was written in 2012, right around the time I was founding my company. And the premise of this book is that to be an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, you have to follow your passion, believe you are smart enough, be courageous, and have luck. So in keeping with what Leo said and what Romila said also, following your passion is key. And I think if you come to a decision point in your life, you need to follow the decision that is the one you're passionate about. You need to believe that you're smart enough. And if you don't know something, that you can learn it. You need to be courageous. Don't take the easy decision. Sometimes you just have to just have guts and go forward. And finally, luck. So luck is really interesting. You know, some people say, oh, he's so lucky, she's so lucky. And luck you can't plan. But what you can plan is to create opportunities to allow luck to come into your life. And I'm going to give you an example of luck that happened yesterday, actually. So yesterday I was in a networking session after the speeches, and I had the pleasure of talking with Owale Osifiko from Nigeria and Grace Bent from Trinidad. So the three of us were in this networking room, and it turned out that both Olawale and Grace work on measuring pesticides in fruits and vegetables. And they came to realize they had the same discipline, they had the same issues with collecting samples, they had the same issues with leaky borders in their countries, and they were doing the same type of work. They exchanged their emails, they exchanged some methodology, and now hopefully they can create a collaboration and go forward. So here's an example of luck. So I attended an agricultural session, which isn't my discipline. I went to this networking session where these two early career chemists were in my session, and by luck they were both there. By luck they were doing the same discipline, and by luck they've connected. So this is what I mean by creating opportunities for yourself. And we talk about networking. Sometimes people are afraid of networking, but networking is really just creating an opportunity for luck to find you. That's how I like to think of it. And that session yesterday even gave me some luck, because I was thinking, how can I talk tomorrow and not only talk about myself? And just by chance of being there, now I had an opportunity to tell a story about luck that didn't involve myself. So there's some examples. And once you have luck, once luck finds you, then it's up to you to follow your passion and be smart enough and be courageous to make that luck come true for you. So my final point is climbing your career. One of my former bosses said she was never ready for any job that she took. So I think this is true. If you're ready for a job, then you're actually staying on the same level. If you can get your foot up onto the next step, then it's up to your muscles to bring your other foot up to join you. You use your passion, your smarts, and your courage to lift yourself up to the next level. So never be afraid. Get your foot on the next level and then pull yourself up. Get your foot on the next level and pull yourself up. And that's how you can advance your career. So I will stop there. I think I went a few minutes over, I'm sorry, but we can talk about some of these concepts more in the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Deborah. And I sit here and I'm listening and I'm looking at all the comments coming in the chat, and I feel like everyone that is out there and listening is feeling the same way that I'm feeling. I am hearing that I can do whatever I put my mind to if I develop support systems. I need mentors. I need an advocate. I need career coaching. I must want to differentiate myself. I must invest in myself. And I need both personal and professional support systems. And I think we have to talk some more about that, because we haven't been brave enough, I think, particularly as women, to talk about the personal support that really is critical for us to use our talents to make people's lives better. And you know what, this luck you spoke about in the session yesterday, it is Commonwealth chemistry. That is that Aladdin's lamp that has brought that luck into the lives of those two young people yesterday, and to all of us who have also experienced some of that going on. So we're looking forward again to you opening up some more in the discussion. And what is left for me to do now before we get into that discussion is to bring in my colleague and friend, our final speaker in this panel, Dr. Michael Ford. Dr. Michael Ford obtained his MChem at the University of Edinburgh in 2008 and a PhD in heterogeneous catalysis at Cardiff University in 2012. He currently holds a senior lectureship in chemistry at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine campus, and administers the final year specialty courses in industrial chemistry, green chemistry, and science. Michael's academic research lies at the frontiers of materials design for green catalysis, with research projects covering green methane partial oxidation, zeolite and nanomaterial synthesis, and photocatalytic upgrading of biomass. He's also involved in several outreach initiatives and projects that range from end-of-life tire recycling to community-based greenhouse crop cultivation. Outside of academics, Michael runs a cosmetic and personal care manufacturing business. So he's another of our chemists that has translated his chemistry into economic activity, into business. And he is the director of the Divine Temple of Light in Trinidad and Tobago. He is my personal friend. I enjoy listening to him, and I hope you will too. Over to you.
Thank you, Marvadine. Can I check that you can hear me clearly?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Thank you for that warm welcome. And of course, I am in the company of giants in the field. And I say giants here, but I'm happy to be here to share some of my experiences with you. And I think in summary, what you will find out is that everything that was said before, I have it jotted down on my paper to say as well. And so that also tells me that there are some things that are common across people who have had success in their careers. And of course, I want to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. When I was asked to talk about my career progression, I actually had to sit down and think about it for the first time in a long time. And that's just because of the way I am. I move with success. So when I was very young, my mother always said, excellence breeds excellence. And so I'm always looking for a way in which I can contribute to society. Now, the first thing that I want to tell everyone about career is that you do need to do some planning. And in my progression, I have not actually planned individual steps, but always only planned what is the value that I'm going to give people and what is my overall goal for my career. So when I was very young, I decided I'm going to be a scientist. I was good at languages, very good at geography, very good at history, good at science. And I decided, listen, I'm just going to do science because I can and because I think it's going to contribute a lot to the world. And I'm happy that I actually chose science. Although I started my career as a biologist, I ended up doing chemistry, I suppose by luck. And one of the things that comes out here is that when you plan a goal, you do actually need to be flexible. And I'll give you an example of that sort of flexibility and how you have to use a little bit of fear as well. Fear of failure, fear of change in order to help you make the right decision when you're flexible. So I left my home country, went to Barbados for my first year, had a wonderful year in Barbados in the Caribbean with the university campus that was right next to the beach and all of that. Left there and went to the UK on a program that was sponsored by the Rotary Club Rotary Clubs, plural, of Trinidad and Tobago. And so while I was there, I had to sign up for some courses. Of course, I'm doing my undergrad research, my undergrad degree, and I'd realized that if I continued with my pathway in biology and in genetics, I would not have gotten as far forward in my program while I was at the University of Edinburgh. And so I decided, listen, I don't have enough time to waste a year and go back and repeat a year. Let me see what I can do. So I moved around the campus, found chemistry, and my director said, oh yeah, why not just do chemistry? And at that point, I'm like, well, I'm not sure what I'm going to do in Trinidad with chemistry, because I had done research before to show that, listen, if you have a degree in life sciences, in biology, you might be able to get a little further along when you return to Trinidad. But I decided, listen, I don't know about it. I'm just going to do it. And I did. And look at me now. I'm here. I'm a senior lecturer in chemistry, and I absolutely enjoy what I do. And so sometimes you do need to cast some caution to the wind. And although you're a bit fearful in your programs, you need to trust your intuition and just go with it. I'm a big believer in the universe, and the universe creates all of these wonderful, lucky moments, and these things just come together in a way to help you move forward, even though you're not quite sure what you're doing. And so I do agree with Deborah that once you are really well prepared for your next step, it probably is not the right step to take, because it's not going to challenge you enough in your career. So another thing that I learned early on in my studies was to try and do something besides chemistry alone. And by that, I mean that, yes, you want to be a chemist, you want to study all the reactions, you want to be an expert at analysis, but actually life requires you to have some other skills. And it's interesting now that even at the University of the West Indies St. Augustine campus, we are actually doing some curriculum review. And now we are putting in life skills into the program, because we realize a lot of people come out with their degrees and they cannot function properly in the society. And so one of the things you need to do is seek out those experiences that will help you to develop these skills. And Deborah talked about psychology, and I had that word written down on my paper here, because you actually do need to understand people. You need to understand what motivates people. You need to understand how to manage your relationships with people. And I think that's a big thing in having a successful career, in understanding people. And that's a part of culture as well. Of course, when I left Trinidad and I went to Barbados, it was a culture shock. When I left Barbados and I went to the UK, to Scotland, I had a bigger culture shock. When I moved from Scotland to just outside of London in my internship at Procter & Gamble, that was a huge culture shock. And then moving to Cardiff and seeing they did things very differently in Cardiff, that was another culture shock. So I think that understanding culture is very important. Understanding people's language, their ideas, their customs, their behaviors. And in fact, when you enter an organization, you do need to understand the behavior of that organization and the rules. And one of the things that I think I did successfully when I moved to UWI was to understand the rules. And how I did that is I actually spoke to people who were more advanced. I spoke to people who had institutional knowledge, and I gathered that from different people in different groupings and settings so that I can compare what was going on at the UE and plot my way forward. And one of the things that always came up over and over in that was that you had to manage your relationships with people in your degree. And I remember that my PhD supervisor one day sat me down when I was a postdoc with him, and he said, Michael, this is it's Professor Graham Hushkins, IFRS, and he said, listen, here's one of my secrets. He said, I use a 90-10. I have 90% worker bees and 10% tinker bees in my organization. I say, what do you mean by that? He said, you have to know who are the people that will think, that will support, that will give you the ideas to push your work forward. And then you have to know the people who you can count on to get the job done once you've given them the idea. So basically, he was saying you have to understand the people and what motivates them. And I think that was actually the best advice anybody ever gave me. Understand who are the thinkers, who are the people that you need to put yourself with to, as Deborah said, to advocate for you, to give you those ideas, to push you forward so that you can actually keep self-motivating your own self as you move forward in your career. Now, in life, my philosophy is that I am learning every day from everybody and from everything. And that has been really very important. I'll give you an example. And this example will show you how I ended up into personal care and cosmetics. So while I was in the UK, of course, as an international student, you have huge tuition bills to pay. And so I decided I would start to do some business activity on the side. Around that time, people were getting into this online purchasing and doing business online and stuff. So I partnered with a colleague in the US, and we started a business moving natural products, herbs, essential oils, and stuff from Europe into the US, organic, while crafted, while harvested, niche. And so we were using all of the buzzwords at that time. And that was actually a quite successful venture in that we were able to turn over a very large sum of money. But at the end of that process, 2 years of being in that, I had nothing to show for it except these receipts that said $100,000 worth of this, and I had no money. And then I wondered, well, what was going on? And so then I realized that I had to get some financial education, because in the business world, in the real world, when people know a bit more than you, they tend to use what they know. And that's one of the things that you have to do as well. You have to learn and use what you know. So I then spent some time thinking about finances and management of finances and that sort of thing. And so when I came back to Trinidad, I realized that there was a niche area that I could use the same skill sets that I had labored and probably not gotten very good outcomes out of for myself, and now use those same skill sets again in a different setting to move myself forward. And Deborah talked about having a nest egg and having some ability to make decisions not based on, do I need a paycheck? Do I need an income? And that's sometimes very important in terms of moving forward in your career, because the sacrifices that we sometimes make could end up being the best sacrifices that we have made in our life with calculated risk. And so I'm here now at the university, and even now changing my focal point. Okay, Marvidine talked about a lot of catalysis research and understanding where we are, understanding our limitations, the restrictions, and also the opportunities. I've moved a bit more into outreach now, thinking about outreach, thinking about chemical education, thinking about those things that I can champion and do and contribute to, that will also bring me that good feeling of joy, of happiness. Because let's face it, if you have a career, you have to be happy with it. Otherwise, you're going to get stressed out, and that's going to manifest in your body, in your family, in other people's lives as well, when you start to manage people and you're unhappy about what you do. And so you always have to find that niche area to develop yourself, and in your development, use that to develop other people. You've heard about a little bit about people advocating and helping you out, but I want to say that you should never, ever think that you're not able to help somebody else because you're not, 50 years into your career or 40 years into your career. I live that every single day. If there's an opportunity to help somebody out in terms of their career, use it, because you're not sure who's going to come back when they get ahead of you and reach back that hand and help you up the ladder. And it's about really the worth of your own soul, the worth of who you are, and your own value system is very, very important in your career. So I have done a lot of stuff, as Marvidine said. I'm involved in church activities. I had some involvement in political activities. I said to one of the organizers last night, I left that out. I decided it wasn't for me. It wasn't my cup of tea. But I did learn from the experience. So one of the things that, I always tell people is do as much as you could while you can, because you never know when you don't have the ability to do it. And if you pursue many things, you're going to pick up tidbits of knowledge and wisdom along the way. And then, of course, you'll be able to use that in your career. And of course, don't be afraid to change careers. And I have not changed my career, I suppose, just yet. And to get around that, I'm incorporating other things to keep me going and, to keep me enthusiastic about life and about what we do. So I think that some people make career changes. As Rumelia said, she's switched around. Deborah has said she's been in one career for a while, and now she's making a change by being a volunteer. And basically, as we say, the sky is the limit, but you have to know what works for you in your career setting. And I hope that we have a really good discussion. You can pick my brains. My students actually do that. And I'm always pleased when they come back after their degree and they say, "Sir, I want to do this. What do you think?" And I'm like, "Well, that's not really my area of expertise." "No, but you think a lot, so tell me, what should I do?" And then I give some advice, which sometimes or most of the time turns out to be good advice for them. So key things: you have to trust your intuition. You need to be flexible. You need to develop your own unique value. I think that's really important, your unique value. You do need to understand people and their culture, organizations and their culture. Above all else, you really do need to do that. And you need to devote your life to learning new things. After your PhD or whatever terminal degree you have, if you don't learn, you're not going to be able to succeed. And so you need to continue learning and be a lifelong learner. And so that's my message to you today. And I hope that you would have taken a few points and that you could use it in your career moving forward. I'm handing back over to you, Marvidine.
Thank you so much, Michael. I really do have a lot to pick your brain on here, but I am going to leave because I hear fear. You say, it's interesting, you say you need to have some fear of failure, some fear of change. And I know I want young people to really understand what you're saying there, because fear does cripple, and I will come back to pricking your brain on that. But doing some things outside of chemistry alone, understanding people and what motivates them. Your words, Michael, excellence breeds excellence. And I see comments coming in the chat here. I know Stacy and Parker, who is an early career chemist, is saying, excellent point at Michael about understanding people. And we have others who are really giving you that round of applause, thumbs up. So I want to thank all the speakers for their contributions. We have maybe about 35 to 40 minutes, everybody, for discussion, because we are going to move into the closing ceremony that is coming right up after this. So I'm waiting. I'm looking to see if there are any. We have a number of comments in the chat, and I won't read all of those out. I don't see any indication as yet of anyone who wants to start with the questions. So I will start, and I want to throw this out to all of our panelists. There are 3 of you left here with me. So this is the one question I want to start with. What you wish you had known at the beginning of your career that you know now? What do you wish you had known at the beginning of your career that you know now? Who would like to start?
Well, I could.
Go ahead, Deborah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I think so. It comes back to psychology. Michael was talking about it, and I talked about it a little bit. I wish I had known about different archetypes of personalities. So I thought everybody was just like me. I just imagined everybody was just like me. But in the world, there's basically 3 archetypes of people. There's people driven by body, people driven by their heart, and people driven by their mind. So body types are like lions, big people who push great ideas forward. People with heart are more social, party people are more, socially adept than I am. And then there's the mind people. So those are the thinkers, the analytical people who really rely on logic and data and so on. And that's where I live. I live in my mind. So, one of the struggles I had in my career was not understanding that some people were body people, were lions, and some people were Saint Bernard dogs. I imagined everybody should be like me, a fox like me. And it was tremendously frustrating for me. I just couldn't understand why people behaved a certain way. And when I did my career coaching, this was one of the things that I was taught. And I wish I had known that 15 years earlier. It would have made such a difference. So I will stop there. That's my life lesson. Yeah.
Okay, we want to go over to Ramila.
Yes, thank you. Actually, I can relate to what Deborah is saying. I don't know how, but I thought exactly like her, that everybody is like me, and why is this person not responding or not reacting the way I think they should? But one other thing is that I wish I had known that any moment you are living at any point of time will not come back, and that you've got to embrace and try to do everything with. When I started, tended to think, okay, right now it's my career, later we'll think about the parents, or later we'll think about doing sports and things like that, but it never comes. So actually one of the things is that you've got to live the moment and try to do the best of what you can do at that point in time and not regret it later. Yeah.
So live each moment as if it is your last. And Michael.
Yeah.
I actually wish I knew how to manipulate business situations earlier, because looking back, I realized how many things I missed. And those opportunities that I missed could have done so much good right now in my present situation. And that's one of the things that I suppose that was an issue with education and with choosing a particular pathway that was only steered towards chemistry, that I lost out on some of those things earlier on, but fortunately got them before I started lectureship. So that was good in the end.
Wonderful, Michael. And there still is time for you, because you are mid-career, aren't you? So there still is time. We are expecting
I think it's
those
early
changes.
career, Marvidine.
Early career, Michael.
Early.
Early career. Wonderful. All right. So guys, we do have some questions coming in from the chat, and I am going to, so Stacy and Parker, you are going to open your microphone and ask yours, because I see the word question in yours. But before you come in, I am going to ask Jermaine Smith's question. These are early career chemists also. And Jermaine says, for the panelists, what are your best mechanisms to overcome fear? And I think we're going to put that one on Michael, because Michael spoke about fear of failure and fear of change. That we need to have a little bit of fear of these things. I guess he will tell us as he answers that question. Michael.
I don't think it's a matter of overcoming fear, but I think it's embracing fear. Embracing the unknown. I think that's more powerful than trying to overcome fear, because people react a certain way when they are fearful. We have to understand that fear is a great motivator for many people to do the things that they do. In fact, many people don't find the solution until they're really faced with a big problem, and they think that, listen, everything's going to fall down. I mean, look at the COVID situation. Look how fast we got vaccines, and it was out of fear of what's going to happen, and everybody just put their heads down and worked together and got the job done. I mean, governments were given billions of dollars to research, and so we understand that it can be a good thing. Now, one of the things in embracing fear is really understanding who you are and understanding how far you're willing to go, what your real motivators are. I think that's a key thing, understanding what are your internal motivators, because some people, for example, and I've met people like this, they do a job because their motivation is to be paid. Other people do a job because there's no other job for them to do. That's what they trained, and they don't wish to move out of that area. Some people just do the job because they develop a lot of joy and happiness from doing that job. And so you need to understand what your motivations are. And therefore, when you're faced with challenging situations, you can always come up with ways to embrace those situations, because you have a very good idea of who you are and what your value is that you're trying to offer to other people.
So you should turn it into a motivator and use your thoughts to create your world, yes. Right?
Yes, that's the idea.
Right. So Stacy, Rosalind, we want Stacy and Parker to open her microphone. And I am going to put this question from Stacy to one of the ladies. I think Deborah could take that one, and then we have another one coming up for Romila. Stacy?
Okay, are you hearing me?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So excellent talks by our panelists. My question is, what is your go-to resource when things just are not happening as though you had intended for them to happen? When you meet up on an obstacle?
Well, I don't know that there's any one go-to resource. It depends what your obstacle is. It has been said in entrepreneurship that the successful entrepreneurs are those that have perseverance. So sometimes it's just simply perseverance. Trying to think about the problem that you're facing, you're looking at it from one point of view. Can you step back and have a look at it from another angle? Or can you turn it upside down and think of it the opposite way? So I think trying to evaluate the issue and just try to tackle it from a different perspective. It's a bit of a general answer, but perseverance, I would say that's it. And sometimes just going for a walk, get outside, breathe the air, get some sun on your skin, and you might see some other ideas of how to solve the issue.
Yeah, thanks, Deborah. I do hear in that first part of what you were saying, again, this using your thoughts to create your world, taking yourself out of it and being able to focus on how to overcome that challenge. So we have another question here. I want Rachel Weiss Mason, you go ahead and open your microphone, and we're going to ask Romila to respond to this one. Rachel, are you there? Okay, so I'll just go ahead.
Sorry, I've just asked her. If you just wait a wee minute, hopefully she'll come up.
Okay, great. It's really nice to have the interaction directly with the panelist.
Yeah, it just sometimes takes a little minute for it to come up.
Right, and it's great to have these young female chemists interacting with Deborah and Romila directly.
It may take a while.
Okay, so shall I go to another one? Should I read another one?
Okay.
Rosie? Yeah.
Yep.
So we have Sarika Shandu. COVID-19 has really put a hold on scientists now starting their careers, especially here in Trinidad. What are some ways to keep motivated and keep going forward? And Ramila, you're gonna take that question from Rachel, but I would love you to jump in on this one also.
Right. Yeah, right. Thank you. Yeah, that's very true, especially in a world where we were always traveling and having a lot of mobility, sharing. And this is where young scientists are encouraged to, attend conferences and share with other people. And now with COVID, this is completely absent. Actually, you can't just move. But as I was saying, is that in this COVID pandemic, these disruptions should be viewed as opportunities. And I believe that, for example, I can take my case and the case of several colleagues, is that during the pandemic, we had to take a step back and think about uh, a new way to adapt to the new normal, right? How to continue doing activities, how to get started into certain activities. And one advice that I would give is to take that time to reflect on yourself and especially to learn new skills. I'm a big advocate for new skills, right? It could be digital literacy skills, it could be negotiation skills, it could be any kind of skills, and especially try to learn about skills that are not related to your technical field, because in any case you've been trained to that and you tend to keep updated to what you have been doing. And I can say that, for example, last month I tried to get a bid with a company to get 3,000 scholarships for Mauritians to follow online courses in Coursera, Udemy, and Google Certified. And these were in about 11,000 courses, which are in everything, but which really are giving new skills to people. And this is how I feel you get motivated. And also, please be in contact. And this rejoins a little bit about the other question about that advocate. Try to use these platforms to really network with people. Networking is something which is fundamental, very important. And when you ask me that question, that earlier question, that what I wish I would have known is that I wished I knew the power of networking and how important that would be in a person's career. Thank you.
Wonderful, Ramila. And I want to jump in and support you on that, particularly now in this online mode. I find there are a lot of opportunities for networking. I am here today, I'm in England tomorrow, I'm in Dubai the next day, and I'm talking to so many different people, creating linkages and finding support. And remember, guys, Commonwealth chemistry is now your new family. And there are so many of us who share so much together. We are experiencing similar things, but we have so many strengths, so much in our diversity. Reach out. And I think the early career chemists here could form, I don't know, your own WhatsApp group, your own connect, just find ways of connecting using the technology. And those of you who are listening, who are more advanced in your careers, get with it. The reverse mentoring, where these early career chemists can teach us how to manipulate the technology to remain connected, so that when we're out and back in the labs, the ideas, the connections would have been there, and the ideas would have been formulated, the networks would have been created, and we're ready to go. All right, so Rachel wants to speak directly to Ramila, and we're gonna ask Rachel to go ahead now.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
my
Yes.
question,
Yes, I
my
do.
question,
Please go ahead.
my question was concerning the advocate. I think you had partially had answered it, but one of the things that that in particular I was looking at is spotting an advocate. How do you identify someone who is interested in pushing and promoting others in you or pushing someone else in their career? Particularly, there are some mentors who may have the idea that that struggle is actually one of the main ways that people grow and people learn. So they may believe that, if I struggle, therefore by helping you, you will struggle too, and that will help you move forward. And there are others who think that, that maybe it's better if they focus on their own career versus trying to work with someone else in that sense. So, how do you identify? How do you spot someone who is an advocate? And then, how do you approach? Is there a particular approach that you should have in moving forward to have somebody work with you or take you under their wings? That kind of thing. So, any advice on this would be quite useful and helpful.
Thank you very much, Rachel. This is actually, I would say, a tough question. I'll try to answer it. I would say, same thing as I said previously, it's all about networking, right? And let's approach this question in two ways. How do you identify? So, identify would be in terms of whatever you're doing in your discipline, to try to find groups of people like conferences, associations of people, and you keep on following that so that you're sure. And of course, today with social media, it's much easier. If you go on Twitter groups, etc., you can do that. So you identify someone with whom you can relate to. And how do you approach these people? I think you should be very direct, right? You should be trying to find an email, trying to get that person interested in you, send an email, or even I would say today, do a webinar. Do a webinar about who you are, what you want to do, and you will see that people will reach out to you. And I'm not very sure that people don't want to mentor people or only interested in boosting their own careers, because as our chair just said, as she said since the beginning, we learn so much with the young. We learn so much. I've learned so much with my mentees, not only about digital skills, about my own field, about behavior of people, about so many things. We love that. It's never a pain. It's actually something we look forward to. So I don't know whether I've really answered your question, but these are the ways I think that you should try to get yourself known, to get the potential advocates, the mentors there interested in you. I'm sure every one of us has something that is interesting and that people want to know more and would like to pursue. So I would say, please go ahead, do not hesitate, and please do contact people. You'll be surprised how people reply. Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful, Ramila. And I see Rachel texting here that she's very happy with the advice. Now, remember, guys, at the end of this session, we are going to go for another 10 minutes or so, and then we move into the closing ceremony. But after this has ended, we can meet again in the lobby, in the networking rooms, and continue these conversations. So I want to bring Michael into the conversation here now. Michael, there is a question here from Dr. Nijol Young, another of our ECCs. She says, this was a fantastic presentation from the panelists. My question is, how do you decide which research ideas are worth pursuing at the start of your career? Very good question.
And that is a very difficult question to answer, actually. Most people would have done, when they do, for example, a PhD, they would have been exposed to certain concepts, ideas, research areas, and many people actually continue on the same pathway from their PhD. But if you look at how research is funded by many of the larger grant funding bodies, they tend to value when you switch from your PhD, MPhil research, and you're actually doing something new to develop a new area, because that actually brings a lot of value to people. So the first thing that I think you would do is I would do a gap analysis. That's what I've done in my a gap analysis, right? So I'm heterogeneous catalysis. I want to do green chemistry. Well, what in green chemistry has the largest impact or has the largest open field where I can make an impact? And then one of the things that you have to think about when you look at those research ideas that maybe now starting off, they're not too mature, they're not thousands of publications on them, so you have a better chance as a young researcher, especially from developing world, to publish in that area. You do need to look at the resources that are available. Because many times what I've seen is that we start research projects, wonderful ideas. I mean, when we write it on paper, it's beautiful. But when the time to execute those ideas, you have a problem because you haven't actually studied the resources and how you fit into that. So I think that the ones that are worth pursuing are those that you can make immediate or short-term and medium-term impact with, of course, but also those which you have some idea of the resources being available or the infrastructure being available, or where you can foresee that it will be available for you to do your research. Because at the end of the day, when you're starting your career, particularly if it's in research and development, you do need outputs. And if you're waiting 5 years to get a particular piece of infrastructure going, there is no output. And no output, unfortunately, people see that as no output, and therefore no output means no progression, right? So you do need to balance the need for doing better chemistry or better chemical engineering and knowledge generation to the actual research infrastructure, equipment, research mechanisms, support networks that you have. And once you get that balance right, the ideas that you have will be operationalized, and then you will produce outcomes. And those outcomes and the networks you build while you're doing that will then carry you to new things. And of course, to me, it's like climbing the ladder. So those new things are going to be better than the old things. And then before you know it, 20 years later, you have this wonderful story to tell of a whole host of different things that you've done. And you wonder, well, how was all of this connected? It was connected because I made a decision to balance what I can do in reality with what I want to do from a thought process. So I hope that helps answer that question.
It's interesting.
Can I just add?
Very interesting.
Sorry, can I just add something?
Please jump in, Romila. Wonderful.
Yeah, I just wanted to say very interesting what Michael was saying, but from a developing perspective, from the context from where I am, and when I finished my studies in France and in the USA, then I came back to Mauritius. One way of identifying research would be in your area to see what is it that your country has to solve. What is your country's needs in something, right? For example, I can talk about my own experience. When I came back to Mauritius like 30 years ago, there were no environmental standards. There was a lot of pollution going on, and being a small island state, we had to make sure that our environment is protected, since we attract like 1 million tourists per year. So this is how I identify in my discipline, chemical engineering, about pollution, about how to, really find solutions to mitigating this. And this is how I chose my research area. And I think this way you can be sure that you will have resources, because people will understand that there's a need for that kind of research and will try to put in resources. Thank you.
Right. I think those two perspectives are interesting. I had some things I wanted to say, but time is upon us and we are squeezing in the two last questions. Deborah, these are coming at you. There is one here because I want to get everyone covered. Nakisha is asking a question specifically about the pharmaceutical industry. And she's saying she wants you to advise students who want to get into the pharmaceutical industry. What advice can you share with them to secure a career in pharmaceuticals? And Deborah, while you're at it, Shanike Spencer Ming.
Oh, we've lost more.
Oh, I think we lost her.
Oh, okay.
Well, I can start. I'll start with.
Yeah, you can start, and I'll get her back.
So the pharmaceutical industry. So the pharmaceutical industry is. I'm not sure what your background is, so I'm just going to give a general answer. There's a lot that a chemist can do in the pharmaceutical industry, and I think many people tend to think only of their own discipline. Let's say you're a.
I think we had a moment there where everyone was.
You're back. Okay,
Right. Great.
I was starting without you. That was okay.
That's okay.
So in the pharmaceutical industry, chemistry is all throughout pharmaceutical industry, organic chemistry, analytical chemistry. There's different roles in the discovery phase where you're trying to discover a new drug, completely different skill set in the development phase. There's regulatory affairs, there's sales. There's so many roles within a pharmaceutical company where a chemist can contribute. And so my advice for you would be, one advice for you would be to think more broadly outside of your own discipline. You know, the training that we receive when we train as a chemist gives us a way of thinking, a way of judging a situation, a way of solving problems, which is unique. And so you can apply those skills in many different ways. So my first advice is to keep your mind open to different possibilities. But in terms of actually landing a job, there you need to connect with people. So going to conferences, presenting your research if you've been in university setting, trying to get to know who are the hiring managers, who are the people that you need to connect with, because many companies now operate with a computer interface where you just submit your CV and it goes into some electronic waste bin. As far as I'm concerned, you really need to figure out who the people are that you need to connect with and who the people are that you need to convince to hire you. So that would be my other piece of advice. So you really need to research the company, look up papers that are published from the company, learn the names of the people. As Ramila was saying before, don't be afraid to email them. Just try to figure out who they are and connect with the people. So I will stop there. I hope that gives you some ideas.
Yeah. Did you want to, or maybe we could have Ramila jump in on that. Shanike wanted to ask, when you have dual passions, how do you choose? What do you do?
I think that would be like more trial and error. Like you have dual passions, and then you try to analyze which one is giving you an opportunity right now. Like Deborah, I very much like what Deborah said, that you have to put one step first and then let your muscles and the others train you to get the other step. I would say at the end of the day, it would be more a question of circumstances as well. So you choose what is your goal in that moment. It's quite a tough question actually, because you might see some years later that and regret that you didn't take that other one. But I think it's just try to follow your instinct and see which one is of more interest to you and which you would be able to pursue. This is important as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I have one gentleman left on the panel. And to all of you who are in the audience, thank you all for this engaging discussion, for sharing so freely so that others may learn from your experiences and your ideas. So let's see if we can just sum up some of the things that have come out. There has been so many. We're hearing the need to develop support networks, the need for mentors, for advocates, for getting career coaching, and of course, Commonwealth Chemistry can support you on that. And you should all remember, go to commonwealthchemistry.org, check out some of our resources there and keep abreast of what is going on. Continue to be optimistic, maintain standards in what you're doing, translate chemistry to business and use it to impact lives and create wealth. Know yourself. We heard look out, look around, look within. Be a team player, be agile, flexible, be a lifelong learner. And everyone agrees that As chemists, we need to understand people. So we need a psychology component. We need to live each moment as if it is the last. Everybody, again, I want to thank you. Now, remember, the conversation continues after the closing ceremony, and the panelists and delegates can connect in the lobby. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we change gears and we transition from career conversations into the closing ceremony. So I want to say welcome, everybody, to the closing ceremony of the inaugural Commonwealth Chemistry Congress. I welcome all of you. Once again, my name is Marvadine Singh Wilmot, and I am a member of the Scientific Organizing Committee of this Congress. You will agree with me when I say it has been a great 3 days. A new experience for most of us, certainly for the Scientific Organizing Committee, with hosting a conference of this nature on a virtual platform. In the end, though, and it was exemplified with that career conversation session just now, the scientific program was strong, the networking, the social activities, all of these things have worked together to stimulate thought and to create linkages. I saw many emails being exchanged in the session just now. We put our heads and our hearts together in partnership for the goals. And now it is time for us to close this Congress, but the interaction and the networking continues. I guess it is true, whether you are in person or you are virtual, time does fly when you are having fun. And I know many of you, like me, are leaving here buzzing with new ideas for research that connects chemistry to life, buzzing after making new contacts and receiving career advice, buzzing with hope for chemistry in the Commonwealth after seeing the talent on display here. I mean, we just had so many outstanding early career chemists speak to us just now in the career conversations. We know that the future of chemistry is in good hands. And for me, that is the highlight of this conference. The breadth and depth of our early career chemists, the breadth of the problems that these young chemists tackle with their research, and the way in which they responded to the challenge of distilling the work and communicating it in 2 to 3 minutes in these flash talks to convey the science and the impact. This has left me feeling hopeful about Commonwealth chemistry's ability to achieve the SDGs. I want to recommend that the ECCs keep in touch. I said it before, and I want you guys to keep sharing beyond this meeting. I also found the networking sessions in the Congress interesting and absolutely fun. I guessed a lot of those questions in the first networking event, but I ended up learning so much about so many of you and the countries from which you come. And then there was the surprise of just who will end up in which networking room, in which session, as we were randomly transferred in those 15-minute sessions. Yes, I like surprises, and I enjoyed that. So on behalf of the Congress Scientific Organizing Committee, I would like to thank everyone who helped to make this event possible. In particular, our panelists, all our speakers, and the early career chemists. You gave our conference big impact. We have to single out the outstanding event team who helped everything to run smoothly. I want to thank personally the Commonwealth Chemistry Secretariat for their tremendous support, the technical team, the hard work that you put in to making this conference so smooth, so enjoyable, so effective. And finally, everyone, I want to
Oh, okay, we've lost Marvadine, so hopefully we'll get her back.
collaborations will start growing. They have been planted. And in the days to come, we will see the new plants. They will come to life, and we will remain connected through Commonwealth chemistry. One people with one mission to inspire, celebrate, and elevate the chemical sciences. I wish you all keep safe, and I now hand over to Tom Welton, President of the Royal Society of Chemistry, to share some final remarks. Over to you, Tom.
Thank you, Marvadine. And actually, in a way, that is the main task that I have now, because as you thanked everybody else who was so instrumental in this wonderful Congress, the one thing that you couldn't do was thank yourself. And so I would really like to thank and congratulate you, Marvadine, on the most wonderful Congress that, as you say, has been, you know, educational, joyful, fun, and exciting. And to see how much can be said in 2 minutes is just remarkable. The people who came to us in the last few days to share with us their research and their ideas and their enthusiasm are just really amazing, great young scientists who are going to grow into the most amazing, great old scientists. And in years to come, I'm sure that people will say, and it is said so often when something new happens, where were you the first time that Commonwealth Chemistry held its Congress? And I shall answer, in my kitchen. But in spite of that, and in spite also that, you know, my greatest disappointment last year was that I didn't come to Trinidad and Tobago for the conference. It has been amazing to just put the whole thing onto an electronic platform, to let us be across the world. It's just a remarkable job, and I'd like to thank you again. And of course, all the members of the executive board and the scientific organising committee. And because, of course, it's such different times across the world, at this time in person, I would probably be raising a glass of champagne. But in honour of the fact that for some people it's the morning, I shall raise my cup of tea in celebration of the Congress of Commonwealth Chemistry and say thank you again to everybody. Brilliant and well done to everybody. And I really do look forward to next time being able to meet you all in person. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone. Oh, Marvadine.
Rosalind, you come on in.
Thanks, everyone, for a great session.
Are we done then?
Yes, we are, but we can meet in the networking rooms in the lobby.
Well, I'm off to dinner, so and perhaps I will have a glass. So very good to see you all. Brilliant, a brilliant last session, everybody. Yeah, really inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.